It's Ken Harbaugh with Against All Enemies. Senator Tommy Tuberville from Alabama keeps making the news for the worst reasons. Here he is, doubling down on defending white nationalists in the U.S. military. It's just embarrassing. And I say this both as a military vet who cares about the state of our armed forces and as someone who graduated from high school in Montgomery, Alabama. Tommy Tuberville is an embarrassment to his state, to the U.S. Senate, and to the country. Take a look.
The military. I do want to give you a chance to clarify some comments you made recently on white nationalists serving in the military. For those who are watching, if they haven't heard your remarks, this is what you said.
Do you believe they should allow white nationalists in the military?
Well, they call them that. I call them Americans.
Do you want to explain those comments, Senator?
Yeah, first of all, I'm totally against any type of racism, okay? I was a football coach for 40 years, and I dealt and had opportunity to be around more minorities than anybody up here on this hill. But when our military has been attacked, was being attacked after 9/11, after January the 6th, and that was my first day on the Senate floor, I thought it was outrageous of what senators from the Democratic side, Chuck Schumer said on the floor that night, calling out people, calling people racist, calling people nationalists, white nationalists. White nationalists is just another word that they want to use other than racism. I'm totally against anything to do with racism. But the thing about being a white nationalist is just a cover word for the Democrats now, where they can use it to try to make people mad across the country, identity politics. I'm totally against that. But I'm for the American people. I'm for military. I'm for Christian conservatives, Democrats, whoever wants to be in the military to fight for this country, to protect this country. That's what it's all about.
But just to be clear, you agree that white nationalists should not be serving in the U.S. military. Is that what you're saying?
If people think that a white nationalist is a racist, I agree with that. I agree they should.
A white nationalist is someone who believes that the white race is superior to other races.
Well, that's some people's opinion. And I don't think,
That's
I mean,
not
a lot.
opinion.
Pardon?
What's your opinion?
My opinion of a white nationalist, if somebody wants to call him white nationalist, to me is an American. It's an American. Now, if that white nationalist is a racist, I'm totally against anything that they want to do, because I am 110% against racism. But I want somebody that's in our military, that's strong, that believes in this country, that's an American, that will fight along anybody, whether it's a man or woman, black or white, red, it doesn't make any difference. And so I'm totally against identity politics. I think it's ruining this country, and I think that Democrats ought to be ashamed for how they're doing this, because it's dividing this country and it's making this country weaker every day.
But that's not identity politics. You said a white nationalist is an American.
It is identity politics.
You said a white nationalist is an American, but a white nationalist is someone who believes horrific things. Do you really think that's someone who should be serving in the military?
Well, that's just a name that it's been given. I mean,
it's not. It's a real definition. There's real concerns about extremism.
So if you're going to do away with most white people in this country out of the military, we got huge problems.
It's not.
Huge problems.
It's not people who are white. It's white nationalists
that have a few probably
different
beliefs.
Right?
That have different beliefs. Now, if racism is one of those beliefs, I'm totally against it. I am totally against racism.
But
there's a lot of people that believe in different things.
Is racist, Senator.
Well, that's your opinion. That's your opinion. But if it's racism, I'm totally against it. I am totally against any type of race, or any type of racism. I don't care what it's in.
Okay, Senator Tommy Tuberville, thank you for your time tonight.
I don't know if it's willful ignorance on the senator's part or if he really doesn't care what white nationalism represents. If it is pure ignorance, it's still inexcusable. As a senator, one of the most powerful people in the country, he needs to educate himself about the threats we face, and yes, white nationalism, especially in the military, is one of them. The other explanation is so much worse, that Senator Tuberville really doesn't believe that white nationalists are racist. These are people who espouse a vision of America in which all non-white races are subservient. If that's not racism, I don't know what is. Who might be able to shed some light on where the honorable senator actually lands on this issue? How about his own brother, who posted this on Facebook? He wrote, I'll try and make this brief. As some of you know, my brother Tommy Tuberville is the senior U.S. Senator from the state of Alabama, elected in 2021. Due to recent statements by him promoting racial stereotypes, white nationalism, and other various controversial topics, I feel compelled to distance myself from his ignorant, hateful rants. What I'm trying to say is that I do not agree with any of the vile rhetoric coming out of his mouth. Please don't confuse my brother with me. Thanks, Charles Tuberville. So it's not just me calling the senior senator from Alabama vile, ignorant, and hateful. It's his own brother. It's bad enough that one of the most powerful politicians in the world, one of 100 U.S. senators, holds these views. When he uses them to defend white nationalism in the military, it's a threat to our democracy. We cannot have a military that condones this kind of racist ideology at all in the ranks. I spoke with Congressman Seth Moulton, a former Marine, about this very thing for an upcoming episode of Burn the Boats. Here's part of our conversation.
What I was hoping they would find is that there's a major difference, and that is that people who have served the country, who've sworn an oath to protect our Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, would be far less likely to be co-opted by these violent extremists. So yes, there's work that DOD should do. DOD should remind everybody who raised their hands to serve the country that they should honor that oath for the rest of their lives. The DOD should make sure that those who have training in conducting war, because we need them to be trained that way for our national security. DOD should be especially careful to make sure that those skills are not ever used against fellow Americans. So there is work that DOD can do, and it's conservative Republicans in Congress who are actually trying to prevent the Department of Defense from doing that work.
And the fact that veterans in any percentage are being siphoned off and joining organizations like the 3%ers and Oath Keepers is a cause for enormous alarm. And the more DOD can...
It's dangerous for the country for all the reasons. Sorry, Ken. It's dangerous for the country for all the reasons that we laid out. Also, just to be clear, it's illegal to behave this way in the military, so you're going to get kicked out. So if you have this behavior, not only is there a risk that you use your military skills to do harm to fellow Americans, but you just are also a loss to the DOD because we have to get rid of you. And all the money that we've spent and invested in your training to date goes to waste. So there are a lot of good reasons why the DOD should make sure that this behavior isn't happening among servicemen and women.
Tommy Tuberville loves ranting about the politicization of the military. Yet I can't think of any senator in living memory who has done more to politicize national defense than he has. In addition to defending white nationalists in the ranks, he is single-handedly preventing senior military officers from assuming their posts for purely political reasons. We'll try to cover that more fully in another episode. For now, I'll just leave it at this. Alabama, you can do better. There are many things I love about the state where I spent my formative teenage years. Your senior senator is not one of them. Thanks. We'll be back tomorrow with another installment of Against All Enemies.